I am going to take you through the exact model that I have used dating back to when I started with the soccer retail company, and we took revenues from 5.9 million to 15 million in 18 months. Went to a Canadian manufacturer, used same model to grow a 40-year-old company. Came back, used the same model to start my internet business, grew that over 8 years and sold it. So I'm going to go break into what it is that we're doing. So I call it the BAM, which is only fun because both of my children their initials are BAM as well, including my dog, Blake, and my other dog, Banner. And so that's why I've kept BAM as the business acceleration model. And really what we're focused in here on is the whole notion of how do we create a compelling company that outperforms, and can we still make it home for dinner? Because I get to work with lots of people in senior leadership roles, and we can have all the success in the world, but if we don't make it home for dinner and we don't tend to our own personal needs, boy, does it get frustrating over time, and you start to resent the work that you're doing. So I'm going to get right into it. So really, there's three pieces of the business acceleration model. So there's the foundation, which is your vision, your values, and your resources. The second piece are the three core functions which every business has, which are marketing, sales, and operations. And then what I call the flywheel. How do we get the business to go faster and faster and faster and faster? And those outside rings are accounting, technology, leadership, and learning. And so I'm going to take you through how this whole model works and how I use it to think about businesses, because really what I'm always trying to do is how do we break the three core functions? Because we want to create an imbalance, because imbalance creates growth. And so we go in and we look at that very purposely to say, how do we create an imbalance in the three core functions? All the rest of these things become complementary. But if you're really going to create a compelling company that outperforms, you have to get the foundation right. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the foundation is really responsible for creating that compelling place. It's the clarity of the mission we're on. And really, as I say, the values are the operating system of the business. And so it's how you feel when you leave your business every single day. And so whether you call it a vision, whether you call it a mission, whether you call it your BHAG, whatever it might be, you need to have something that galvanizes the company together. And so, I'm going to use vision. Yes, there are nuances to it, but I will tell you that without having some type of North Star in your business, you're going to trip and fall. It can't be a compelling place because you don't know the mission or the journey that you're on. So when I say to people, hey, come join our company, we're going to have a lot of fun, we're going to go do this amazing thing, and people join us, I may think an amazing thing is going to the beach and hanging out at the beach. That's an amazing mission for me. And there's other people, like my wife, she loves to go snowboarding. And so her amazing mission would be, let's go to the mountains and let's go snowboard. If we don't have clarity of the mission that we're on, boy, someone is going to be really disappointed at the end of it. And so creating that clarity around what it is that we're doing is central to creating that compelling company. How many of you here are inside businesses that have a compelling vision, or you think has a compelling vision? You can just take yourself off mute and give it to us. Kevin?
Yeah, I know we have one. We're on a mission to build a greener Colorado. I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah.
And it's easy to get people to say, oh my gosh, that's something that I identify with, right? And the vision that you have isn't going to be for everyone. That's the reality of it. And that's perfectly okay. But you do have to have some vision to say, here's the impact that we want to go make on the world. This is super, super important and super critical. Anyone else have an interesting vision or mission inside their business?
We do, Jerry.
What do you got, Jared?
Well, we're currently massaging this mission statement, but we're trying to build wealth in communities, and so that's what we're trying to do through real estate. Yeah.
Just allows you to have a perspective of the impact that you're going to go make on the world. And I'm going to walk through this a little bit later, but your vision also allows you as the leaders of an organization to say, how do we organize around the resources that we have to go achieve the vision that we're on, right? If you don't have some end point that you're headed towards, it's near impossible to allocate resources onto the opportunities that are in front of you. So let's just walk through, the vision. I started talking about it. What is the North Star? It is near impossible to allocate your resources and opportunities if you don't know exactly, here's the impact that we want to go make. And so every business should start with, what is the problem that you're solving? And in addition to this, what is your unique view on solving it? I've said this before, if you're just a Me Too business, if you're thinking in terms of we're better than other people, then you're ready to be displaced because someone's going to be better than you. And so get into the mindset of what is the unique thing that we do that creates our own category. Chris Lochhead talks about this in Play Bigger. It's a wonderful book. I really recommend it. But you have to be in this mindset of, if I'm in a Me Too business and I'm doing what everyone else is doing, you are ripe for displacement. And so you have to not think about better, but think about different. And then, think about it. Are you articulating your mission in a remarkable and an inspiring way? If you aren't inspired by the work that you're doing, there's no way that someone is going to come join you on the mission. And so if you're not excited about it, if you don't think it's remarkable, if you don't think it's inspiring, then guess what? Don't think that you're going to get great people to come join you on the mission. You want to be thinking about your ultimate impact. What's the ultimate impact? I think about this all the time. Legacies. As far as I know, I think we only get one life to live. And so what's the legacy that you're going to be thinking about that you leave behind? What are the clues and what are the stories where someone says, you know what, Johnny did this amazing thing and it was incredible and I'm a better person for it. I'm so grateful he was in my sphere of influence. That's what you should be thinking about. That's what you should be thinking about. And your mission should not be for everyone. Not everyone's going to identify with, say, building a greener Colorado. That's okay. But you can still evangelize your own mission, and you find those people who do identify with you, and it makes it way easier to go way faster, right? So values, I say this differently. It's really the operating system of your business. Values are the operating system of your business. It's the rules of engagement. Say that differently. It's what we celebrate and it's what we don't tolerate. Let me say that again. It's what we celebrate and what we don't tolerate. It is not the words that are posted on the wall. It's how you act and how you treat each other inside your business. And so when someone goes home and their spouse says, "How was your day?" It's all about the values of the company and how people feel about the work that they're doing. And so what happens when we don't have a vision or we don't have values? Well, nature abhors a vacuum. And so people are going to do their best to interject what their values are and what they believe is right when you don't give it to them. So on our side, what we can do is we can become really predictable leaders by creating clarity in all aspects of our business. Clarity allows you to create a world-class business, right? When we talk about values too, you better be ready to have stories, and more stories. Because what I tell people who haven't had vision or values in their company and they start to put them inside their business, the real values of the company are the stories that are told at the lunch table when you're not there. Those are the true values of the company. And so you need to make sure that when you say this is our value, that we have a story that highlights why that is an incredible part of our culture. And you reinforce that. And when you start every meeting, you ask someone, you say, Isaiah, please tell me about someone inside our organization who did something that was amazing that highlights our values. So we create more and more stories that reinforce this is who we are and this is how we treat each other. So when we go home every day, people feel great about the work that they're doing. If you do that, right, the foundation, you get those two things right, you are off to the races as a business. Again, values drive actions. So I gave you what I call our action principles, which is our values. And so it's the thing that I believe in because I'm the founder, and I installed them before I had anyone other than me, right? Before Maria joined me, who's my right hand and trusty assistant, who I appreciate more than life itself, right? But love is the ultimate superpower, right? We talk about things in terms of like, is this loving our people? Are we creating an environment where people feel valued? And we can align our actions with those values, because what you're trying to do in all things, compelling companies, compelling life, is you have your vision, your values, and your actions. And if those are aligned, it unlocks fulfillment. And fulfillment is the highest purpose for anyone in life. And so that's what we're after, to make sure that we create fulfillment. The only way we can do that is to have clarity on our vision and our values so that we can align our actions. Then suddenly magic happens, right? And so those are ours. One of the things that we have to be just conscious about, the world has changed. There's a lot of things that are happening in the world, and we have to be really focused. So before COVID started, people had the time to stop and think, and during COVID, 30% of people have completely different priorities. Completely different priorities, not just like a little bit different, but completely different priorities. I think that's an amazing statistic. When you look at it further, you look at the Great Resignation. 61% of people in the Edelman Trust Report are now choosing their employer based on beliefs, and they're refusing to work at companies because of disagreements on social issues. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, all of those things, environmental issues, to Kevin's point, all of those pieces become really hot topics for people to say, do I believe in this? Is this what I want to do? We've known for a long time that 2/3 of people didn't like the work that they were doing. There's been survey after survey after survey. But then we sent people home, and they spent a lot of time with their family, and they had a lot of white space to think. And they started to think, you know what? Is this really what this is all about? Is this everything that needs to be here? And they started to reevaluate lots of pieces on their life, which is why it's super critical in today's environment to give people really clearly, here's the vision, here's the mission we're on, and here are the values. Here's how you can expect to be treated inside our company. My experience is compelling companies always outperform. They get the lion's share of the rewards. And a lot of that is because we've done a good job of creating clarity inside the business. And so what is it that you're doing to create your community on the mission? You have to invite people to come join you. And I said this before, if you're not inspired by your company, why do you think anyone else is going to be inspired by it? So it's up to you as a leader inside your business to really create that environment where people go, I love turning up to work. I love the work that I do, right? It's so compelling that people would say, I can't believe that people pay me to come do this. This is amazing. I want to walk you through a little bit too, right? About why this is so important, because we hear about companies that become dysfunctional. And so you have individual contributors, and if you zoom way up, right, all people kind of look about the same, right? And so when you're so far up, you can't recognize or see the individual differences. And that's really the problem that happens. If you think about your own business and your hiring process, most of the time we're hiring for technical competence. Can this person perform the role that I need them to perform? But almost always we fire for values misalignment. Almost always. There are people that, can't get the job done. And obviously we have to make difficult decisions. But at the end of the day, it's values misalignment that we miss on. And so here's what it looks like. A great leader zooms in and is able to appreciate the unique differences between all of the people that they are leading, right? We're hiring for technical competency, but also for values alignment. And what you're trying to do is these gears kind of all match. They're going to drive the inside of this. And the business is going to be able to go faster. Can anyone see the one item that's not going to do well in this environment? Zach, do you see it?
Lost you, honestly. You look at the picture.
Yeah. So when you look at this, all of these have gears and they're going to drive this thing to go faster and faster. This one right here doesn't fit. It's not going to interact well with these other pieces of the puzzle. And so this red sphere may be a 10 at another company, because another company may all have spheres. But this company, because of their vision and their values, they all look like little gears. And that's what's going to make the business run faster and faster and faster. That's why you have to be clear on your vision and your values, right? So when you then start to put more complexity into this, we now have departments, we now have divisions, right? It gets harder and harder and harder to have all of that alignment that happens. You get more of the red balls that don't match up, where there's breaks in trust in all of what we're doing. And so the bigger the company gets, the harder it is to align across the organization. And it's why you have to be clear in your vision and your values. If you're not clear there, you are running up the hill to start with. And so what happens when you don't get vision and values right? Just what we're in, the Great Resignation. So we have 4 million people that have voluntarily left their job every month since last July. And that's the world that we live in today. And they're searching for something more. And I hope your company can give them something more. Again, if you don't get the foundation right, you're out of business before you even started. You're pushing the car uphill. You might as well put gas in it, put the vision and values in, and get started in the right way. The third part of the foundation are the resources. So resources are anything that is inside the company's ability to utilize to become successful. Or to say it differently, it's how many mistakes can you make before you go out of business? That's really what we're saying. How many mistakes can you make before you go out of business? So when I first started thinking about this model, it was really thinking about the financial resources inside of a company. And I was talking to a lot of people, and the financial capital certainly determines how fast you go. It's this: are we taking the Lamborghini, or are we taking the broken down bicycle? Right? And so we have to be continually in this mindset of, it's not just financial capital, but it's my network. It's my intellectual property. If I'm starting a business, am I bringing customers with me? Am I already expert or well-known? If you're in that space, boy, it's way easier to market because I already have a following that's coming with me. That is a resource for the business. And so we want to be in this mindset of, what are all of the resources? And I'm a big fan of this. You have to raise your hand and you have to say, I need your help. It's my favorite words in business. It's the most disarming. It is the most humble thing that you can do. Most people's egos get in the way of doing this. We don't do life alone. We're all standing on the shoulders of giants, right? People have all helped every single last one of us here. And so we need to be in the mindset of, how do we make sure we're giving to people so that we have equity in our relationships, that when we need help, they can actually want to come help us. And that's an important part of the process. Any questions about the foundation? You guys can take yourself off mute and ask a question.
No questions here.
All right. I know there's some people that don't have their video on, but did it make sense, Isaiah? Am I tracking okay for you?
I got tons of notes.
Fantastic. This is great.
I'm typing.
I love it. You're typing. I love it. I keep on seeing Zach's head go down too. So I think he's taking notes, even though he probably gave me all these notes, but all good stuff. Let's talk about the 3 core functions. So the 3 core functions in every business is marketing, sales, and operation. No matter what it is that you're doing, there is some awareness that happens, some conversion that happens, and then some delivery that happens. I don't care if you're a nonprofit. I don't care if you're a for-profit. I don't care what industry you're in. I've been in 5 industries, 5 different markets, B2B, B2C. It is the same thing. I always love it when people tell me, oh, my business is different. Because my experience is your business is not different, right? It's just a matter of figuring out how these things work together. So when we look at this, marketing is how do we get as many people at the top of the funnel that know about us to come all the way through and have a really great, positive, profitable experience to pay us this little thing here, the dollars. How do we get the dollars out of the transaction? So Dave Gerhardt, one of my marketing gurus, I think he's one of the 3 smartest marketers in the world right now. And if you are looking for people to go find out about, Dave Gerhardt's one of them. I would tell you to go see Chris Lochhead, who I mentioned earlier, who wrote the book Play Bigger. And the third one is Chris Walker. Those 3 guys are just doing an amazing job of being so at the forefront of marketing. But the goal of marketing is to make sales easier. As I say this differently, marketing is the lubricant for all other pieces of your business. It makes everything else in your business easier. Here's what it is, right? So if marketing is the lubricant, there's lots of different models about this, but the one that I look at and the one that I'm espousing in this marketplace really ends with the highest level being community. And so awareness, you start a business. Does anyone know we even exist? I ran a business that was a retail business. It had been in business 20 years. And every day someone walked in and said, oh, I didn't know there was a soccer store in our community. And it blew our mind, right? But there's new consumers every single day that we have to continue to work to build that awareness. Once we have the awareness, do we have their attention? Are we solving a problem that they actually care about? Right? If they don't care about it, we're never going to get their attention. Their desire, are you solving a problem that people are excited about? And excited that they would literally reach in, pull their wallet out and give you their credit card. That's exciting, right? Because that's when it starts to become fun. And then community. In today's environment, community is the ultimate goal. It's beyond a transactional relationship. You have now created a transformation for all of these people. And community, to me, is the highest level of marketing that you can do. So when you think about it, think about iconic brands. Who are they, right? Who are the people follow, the people defend, people get excited about? It's Disney, it's Nike, it's Tesla, it's Apple. I mean, these people have created incredible brands because they've executed, they've made promises to the marketplace, and they've executed and brought to market world-class products and services that people just love. Yeah? So the next piece of it is sales. Sales generally has been at the heart of every organization. It has been the heartbeat because nothing really happens until a sale actually gets converted. And so I think in this world, we're starting to see some changes. I would tell you the 2 biggest challenges in 2022 is marketing, because there's so much noise out there. And so when COVID started, I said this a million times, the people with the smartest marketing minds are going to win. So I think sales, because of dynamics of markets and digital first, people are doing research and they're so far into your buying funnel before we even know about them, before we're even talking to them. And so if you can win the marketing game, you're way far down the road. The second challenge is leadership agility. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But sales, it's the driver of every business, right? That's how we bring dollars in, and that's how we all get paid. That's a key and critical piece. So the first step is we have to convert customers, right? Not only do we have to market to them and get the opportunity to have a conversation where we can convert them, then we need to upsell them. So when you think about your business, do you have opportunities to ask them in McDonald's style, would you like fries with that? I can't believe how many businesses don't have upsells along the way. They never get to the point of thinking, would you like fries with that? And so there's lots of opportunity within your business to do the upsell, resell, right? What's the product life cycle or the contract? And so what are you doing to continue to nurture and resell that customer? Because if we lose customers, which is the last piece, if we don't retain and we just have customer churn and new customers coming in, you know what your revenues do? They stay flat. And so retaining and retention is a core and critical piece of growing your business. You can't miss on these four things, or all you're going to do is tread water in doing this. I'm going to pass over that. So operations is all about consistent, profitable delivery of your good or your service. That is what you are trying to do. You are trying to create an experience that is consistent and profitable. I don't care whether you're in a physical good, a virtual good, or digital good, or a service. That is what you're optimizing for. And so you have to be thinking, how do you optimize the widget coming through the system? How do I make it more efficient? How do I buy it better so that I can bring it in at lower cost and make it either more profitable or more price competitive? And so you have to continue to be in the mindset of what was good today needs to be better tomorrow. You can never rest on your laurels of good is good enough. You're continuing to move these things forward. When you think about operations, there's always this natural tendency, I don't know if you guys have it within your companies, of what sales and marketing want to do and promise and what operations feels like they can consistently deliver. There's always a natural tension in that, right? And so you should lean into that. Don't lean away from that. Lean into that, because operations is just trying to make sure that they do that consistent delivery for a world-class experience. And sales and marketing is just trying to make shit happen, right? And that's A-okay. So there should be a good, healthy balance there. It just should be really positive, right? Positive, constructive conflict. If we all are aligned on the vision and the values, where we're going and how we treat each other, then positive, constructive conflict is way easier to have, right? And so what we want to be thinking about here, and why I put the seesaw up on the screen, is at some point in time, something is out of balance. You're constantly going back and forth. So we've built operational capacity because we believe that there are opportunities. Now we need sales and marketing. Now sales and marketing has kicked in and we're out of equilibrium again, because now we have more stuff to deliver than we could possibly have capacity for. This is the natural state of going back and forth. So as the leader, you have to be thoughtful around your capacity issues and your sales velocity, which simply means if my sales cycle is 90 days and I've got a really big pipeline and it takes 90 days to train people, which in my experience it does, it takes 90 days to confident competence, then I better start hiring people right now on the operation side, or else I am going to have a massive problem in 90 days. And so when you're thinking about these things, the 3 core functions: marketing, sales, and operations. My earliest mentor, Jerry Keller, was from the rock and roll industry. He always told me, you never want to have a hit record on the radio with no records on the shelf to sell. It's the worst thing that you can do. You have all this demand and no ability to monetize it. And so as leaders, we have to constantly have our head up above the landscape of the business. And hopefully we're capturing lots of data as we're going through, because we're going to talk about technology, about how that accelerates the business. And so data will inform your ability to make better decisions faster. But ultimately, here is what you're trying to constantly do. When I go into businesses, I'm thinking, what can we break here? Because I'm constantly trying to break something, right? I'll give you an example. I work with Isaiah, and I went into his business and we said, we can put 100 widgets through the system. Okay, great. How many widgets are we putting through right now? We're putting through 60. All right. The first thing we did was go back to sales and marketing and start that machine getting faster, and invested more on the marketing side so that we could fulfill the capacity that we had. We wanted to monetize the capacity. Eventually you get to a point where, whoo, we've now overwhelmed the operations side. We need to buy another machine to come in to go make these widgets. And that is the balance that you're constantly doing. But you can only do that is if you are looking forward down the road and you understand the mechanics and the levers of your business to actually make an impact and to make decisions that will try and keep some type of equilibrium in your business. I've been on both sides of this where I have operational capacity and not enough sales. And I've been on the other side where I have way too many sales and no operational capacity. To be honest, it is uncomfortable, but it's really how you grow businesses. And so you have to just lean into, this is the way the mechanics of a business works. And it takes investment. So the last piece, actually, any questions on the flywheel? Anything that people are thinking about or need me to go back through?
Hey, Jerry.
Yep.
The one thing I was just going to mention, or is it? Oh, in trying to create a situation where people are enticed to come back.
Yep.
I haven't figured out how to do it in my business yet, but there's a great example. There's a wood distributor in Denver that there's 6 or 7 of them. And this one, they have a points program for all the people that buy from them, and they earn trips. Yep. I think I told you that they take their clients on. It's like a point system, building up almost like frequent buyer points. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, one of my favorite programs when I was running the construction business was we had a cashback credit card. And so lots of those loyalty type programs, but we bought lots of product from Home Depot and Lowe's and all of those and put it on our account. Then we cleared it on the credit card and then paid it off 30 days later. And so we ended up getting 60-day terms, which accelerated our cash flow. And I think at the height, we made like 70 grand one year, just simply being thoughtful about the mechanics of the business and how we could monetize different pieces of it. And so American Express points, grocery stores have loyalty rewards. I think it's a great idea. If you can think about how your business and the mechanics and the levers of your business work without getting too complicated. But I'll tell you, there's lots of technology solutions that will help with that. Reward programs, giveaways. There's all sorts of inexpensive software as a service where you can buy a subscription and run some of these giveaways. And I think it's a great idea. All right. So I'm going to talk about the flywheel. So I'm a big believer that, again, the better data we have, the more intelligent, faster decisions we can make as long as we are communicating across the organization. So the first piece of this is accounting. So the accounting is really the scorekeeper. Are we winning or not? Right? Are we meeting our financial objectives for the company? Are we keeping track of the
inputs to make sure that we can see the business changing way before it actually has an output on our profit and loss statement. The second is technology. It's the game changer for accelerating your business. I love doubling down on technology. I think it's one of the most important pieces that is undervalued and that people do not invest enough in fast enough on technology. And then leadership. People want to be great. We need to stop getting in the way. And, you know, I say this all the time. I have never had someone that I know of, at least, that shows up to work and says, you know what, I really want to suck today. People don't do that. And so it's us as the senior leaders that get in the way because we have a lack of clarity. It's not a compelling environment to be. One day we say this is good. One day we say this is good. And people just say, I don't know what to expect. I don't know how to perform. And that's just not a fun environment to be in. So we're going to talk a little bit about leadership and then learning. I'm a big believer of imbuing learning throughout the organization because learning organizations solve problems differently. And with as fast as the world is moving right now, if you are not asking people in interviews about what is it that you're learning when you were off from COVID, when you were at home, did you binge watch at Netflix or were you reading books? Because I want to know who are the people that are making investments in themselves. They're going to solve problems differently. Just the truth. So again, accounting, are we winning? You know, recommendations, close the books by the 10th of the month, try for the 5th. I will tell you, I can't tell you how many businesses are undisciplined in closing their books by the 10th. Demand it. I can't tell you how many owners don't review the financials monthly. How do you know how to allocate the resources if you don't know what resources that you have, right? My first owner of the company, he told me one day, he said, I just work as hard as possible and hope there's something left over at the end, right? Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. Planning is a strategy. Discipline is a strategy. And so we have to be really focused in on that. I'm going to show you on the next one, just a weekly cash management report that I've put into a number of businesses. Why? Because it allows the owner of the company to lay their head on the pillow and say, we are okay. We're going to make payroll next week, right? And so if you don't know exactly what your cash position is, then it's really hard to make those decisions. Because the accounting people are the numbers people, sometimes this falls in operations, sometimes this falls in accounting and finance, but initially responsible for metrics and dashboards, right? That's usually the first place that it starts, where people start getting information about the business, because that's the place where it starts. So this is a cash management report. And again, it's just using really simple things like what's our AR, what's our AP, what's our line of credit look like right now? What's our revenue from last year compared to this year? Are we up, we down? Are we up against plan? How does that look? What bills did we pay this week, right? What new business came in? And so everyone's going to look a little bit different, but at the end of the day, you should have something that you get every Friday where you can look at it and say, all right, I either need to go sell the Ferrari this weekend, or I'm great. I'm going out on the boat. I feel really good about where my business is. And so this is just a tool that I've used inside a number of companies just to create some ease for leaders. And again, if you don't know your numbers, you can't effectively allocate the right resources on the right opportunities. And at the end of the day, I would tell you, that is the role of a leader, to put the right resources on the right opportunities. All the rest of it, if we get the right resources on the right opportunities, we have a fighting chance.
Jerry, I'd forgotten about that cash management sheet. You're bringing back memories.
It's still a good tool, man.
Yep,
it's still a good tool.
It's a great one. I should use it.
So technology accelerates. And so what does it do? It should bind the organization together. It should give us opportunities for all of us to know exactly what's going on faster, because we now live in a completely digital world. If you are trying to bring analog things and digitize it, you're doing it the wrong way. You should be using digital technology to do digital things because we live in a digital world. So most of the time, if you're a growing business coming out of the growing stage, right, we have to implement technology as soon as possible. Generally speaking, you know, if you're in that 0 to 5 million range, 7 million, we probably haven't put a whole lot of technology in unless you're a tech geek, right? But that allows us to understand the business needs. And it doesn't have to be you. People get intimidated by technology, like, oh, technology is not my thing. It doesn't have to be you, but you have to get someone to do it for you, or else you're never going to have the data that you need to accelerate the business. One of the most important things as you start to look at platforms is technology must always serve. It can't ever be the master. If you are building your systems and your process, or rearranging your systems and your process to fit the technology, you've done it wrong. Because now my business needs are being driven by an inanimate object, a technology, as opposed to what and how we understand our business and how to serve our people. So I would tell you, keep looking for it. When we ran the construction business, we spent at least $150,000 building our own custom project management platform. Was it worth it? Yes, we knew exactly where every property was. We increased our margins, more than paid for it. And when we had conversations with customers, they had so much confidence in us because we knew our business better than they knew their business. We could output our scorecard for their client requirements faster than they could. So if you don't think they went like, oh man, these people really know their business, those are the things that technology can do. And it's, you know, it's every aspect. Sales presentations. We live in a world where data can just move via APIs. And if you're not a programmer and that scares you, there are platforms that will connect those programs called Zapier or Pabbly Connect or Integromat. And there's lots of no-code technology that you can implement that just streamlines all of the process. And then again, you want to automate as much as possible. I walk into companies, they don't have a CRM. It's hard for me to imagine that a company would operate and they don't have a CRM. There is no way that you can maximize your sales in the upsell, resell, and retain if you don't know who your customers are and you don't have a process by which to follow up and nurture them, right? It's just gross negligence. And then ultimately, when you automate as much as possible, really the technology should start to capture our metrics and our dashboards. Because if we put the right technology in, it's capturing data along the way through our business process that we just can, with a click of a button, say, tell me what my pipeline is right now. Tell me what my average close rate is from initial contact to the actual close. Now I can see visibility on what my operational demands are going to be in the future. Those things become super important the bigger and the faster you start going. What does leadership effectiveness mean, right? So at the very base level, we set the strategy, we allocate the resources, and we adjust the sales. That's what we do as leaders, right? The other piece of it is we imbue the culture, right? We set the tone, we live it, we tell the stories, we manage the people, and we set the hiring criteria and process, because we are the gatekeeper of who we invite into our business and on the mission. I always love when people start complaining about some of their people, and I always remind them, you are the one that invited them in on the mission. So if they're no longer serving you, then you have to make a change, and that's okay. But let's make sure that we communicate our way through that. I found this statistic really interesting. Only 48% of CEOs, there were 15,000 leaders that were involved in this study, have confidence in their senior leadership team to deliver on the objectives of the company. So the CEO doesn't believe in half of their leadership team to deliver the results. That to me was astounding. And when I spoke to some people, you know what they said? Yeah, that's about right. That's about the number. And that is scary for me, but it's the truth. And it gets worse when you consider who's behind the senior leaders. There's only 11% trust that the people who are on the bench can actually deliver results to. And so when you think about an environment and a leadership crisis, boy, do we have an opportunity to improve. Again, 63%, why it's important, 63% of people are thinking about leaving their company because they have a bad manager. So if you start looking and saying, oh, it's them, it's them, it's them, it's not them, it's us. It's us as the senior leaders. We can do better, we have to do better. Let's talk a little bit about learning cultures. Learning cultures dominate. At the end of the day, they solve problems differently. They're more innovative. They're thinking about the future and not just resting on what we've done in the past. And so, what are 7 ways to promote a learning culture? Read by example. You can start a book club. Carol Ann, I don't know if she's still on the call. Carol Ann's business, they started a book club. I don't know how many books they've read, but they're doing a great job inspiring people. There she is. Carol Ann, how many books have you read now?
We've been through 5.
5, right?
And
it's awesome. It's team building, it's learning, it's all of those things.
And it also gives you an insight into what everyone's thinking about certain things in the business, or even if it doesn't relate to business, you kind of get an insight. And so all the feedback has been great since we've implemented that. Some of our senior leaders questioned why we were spending an hour on book club a week. So I've had to do some convincing there, but it's been well worth it.
Love it. I think it's a great one. Right? Reimburse employees for taking courses. If you want people to continue to get better, we have to invest in them. So reimburse them. Pay for them to go to an event. I would tell people get to an event once a quarter. You have to get out of the office so that you can see the landscape of the business. If you're not doing that, again, I would tell you it's negligent. You're getting out 1 time a quarter to think about your business. You can run a company learning challenge. Think of it as a fitness challenge for learning, right? How many books can you read? How many podcasts can you listen to? How many TED Talks, whatever that may be. Demand your leaders have a development plan for every employee. I have a document. If anyone wants it, I can send it out, but it walks people through. There has to be a plan for every person in your business. They may be in their role for a period of time, right? Because of depending on the size of your business. But if you don't have a plan to invest in them, to make sure that they are growing personally and professionally, then you're missing the mark. And there's an opportunity for them to leave you. Right? You can start a company library or an Audible account, just easy things that you can do to invest in people, to get people thinking differently. Because if we're using 10-year-ago thinking to solve today's problem, you're sunk. All right. I have questions that I normally get asked, but I am happy to take any questions from anyone on the model so far.
Jerry, I just had one question about the Audible account. Have you had companies that have done that, and just wanted to hear more about that?
Yep. So yes, get a generic Audible account and a generic email so that you can share it. And you can gift books forward to other people if you want to. It's almost like, I would take it off my desk. I have lots of books back here. I'd hand it to you and say, Carol Ann, this is a great book for you. So you have that opportunity. But I also see people just have one login, a generic login for the company that anyone can go in and use and listen. You look at Audible has it. If you have a Prime account, you have all sorts of magazine subscriptions. The New York Times, I think you can read for free. And so there are ways that you can get people thinking about being more worldly by simply just being a little bit creative.
Yep. I love that. Thanks.
Yep.
I did not know about doing it through a generic email account, but our team is using Audible individually to read the same books.
Yeah. So it only becomes a problem. I mean, technically it's probably against terms and conditions, Kevin. So good thing this isn't getting broadcast on Facebook or anything, but it is a way to cost effectively, grow your library. I've seen offices, they'll walk in and they literally have bookshelves of books that people can check out just like you're in a library. And it should be part of on your plan for your people. What is it that they need, that they don't have yet, that they're going to need to know to help the business go faster, further? Any other questions?
So Jerry, what's your take on people going back into the office or staying remote as far as building, from a leadership standpoint? Obviously there's a lot of information in a growing company and there's culture concerns. What's your take?
Yep. So I see this one pretty clearly, Cole. I look at it much like the record industry that fought like hell on digital music. And I don't know about you, but I haven't bought a CD in 20 years. The music industry is very robust. It's still continuing to grow. And so they fought against the digital that was happening. It's never going back. And so when I look at remote work, and you now have an opportunity to, instead of just being in Jacksonville, Florida, with the population that I have here, I can get someone to work for me anywhere in the world. Maria is in the Philippines. Roanne is in the Philippines. Amazing people, right? And so there are lots of opportunities if you can open up your mind to not just being in a return to office environment. I really believe that if businesses are not open to hybrid, at least hybrid, if not remote full, that they're going to be dinosaurs going forward. And the tools that we have to bind us together are only going to get better and better, right? And so I think there's, Zoom fatigue, but I would trade office space for bringing people together quarterly, whether it's by division, by team, by company, depending on your size. I don't see any reason why people have to be in an office day in and day out. Do you need crossover for creativity and collaboration? Absolutely. But I don't think, 5-day work weeks are going to happen anymore, or in the office. What are they doing where you're at?
We're all remote. We're in insurance, and most of our headquarters are, or our larger populations are Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, and Jacksonville. So if we were to be hit by a natural disaster, we'd all be out of the office anyway. So they said, let's make sure we're all remote, because when people need us, that's when we need to be able to be on a computer, right, and to service them and help them. So,
right. Any other perspectives on remote work?
We actually just implemented hybrid work where our hourly employees had been kind of mandatory to come in the office. We just implemented hybrid work where possible, because we were losing employees to all fully remote positions. Right. So that's been a positive, very positive thing that actually just went effective this week. So pretty excited about getting that and continuing that.
I think that's interesting. You do have certain environments, if you're in distribution or production or manufacturing, yes, you do need to be in a place where people show up and take the product off the shelf and put it in a box and send it out. That's the nature of, some organizations. But for the organizations that can be remote, I would encourage you get in front of what's happening, because people are going to blow by you. And I do just think about pieces of this. If we were really clear about what we expected from our people, then we wouldn't demand 40 hours in a seat from them. Because if we were clear of what they needed to do to make an ROI for us, then would you care as a senior leader that they can do it in 10 hours? I personally wouldn't. I'd love to give them back their quality of life. Now, there's the capitalist inside of me that says, well, if they can do it in 10 hours, I'd love to see what they could do in 40 hours. That would be amazing, right? But, that's the benefit to the company. And, hopefully you would share that back in a bonus or commission or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, I think the clearer we can get on our expectations from people, then the clearer we don't have to have people working in hourly positions.
I think that speaks to your slide about the trust.
Yes.
Back halfway through, the trust system, or the trust in hierarchy. I think that has to be there, and being willing to embrace that and let your people, your teams deliver, because with the encouragement and the guidance, they should be able to do that. And I think looking forward to what's coming next, the Gen Z crowd coming through, they're going to expect remote. They have a totally different mindset.
Well, so, I'm a native analog, as Chris Lockhead would say. I'm 47. Exactly. Right? I would not describe this as a face-to-face meeting. But if you're 35 and under, this is a face-to-face meeting. This is their life. This is not like, oh, that's analog and in a digital way. No, this is the way we interact, and I can do it from anywhere. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Jared, quick question. That's a segue a little bit, but it has to do with trusting your people. Can you comment quickly on vision and values when you're creating those? When you're either creating those or you're refreshing those, where should those be set? Is that the owner? Should he be building that? Is it the senior leadership team? Is it the management team? Is it the entire company?
Yeah.
Can you comment on that real quick?
Yep. So my answer is it depends. So hopefully at the outset of the business, the owner has been thoughtful about the impact of why they're opening this business, what problem we're solving, and what's our unique view on it. And here are the lanes by which we're going to celebrate people and what we don't tolerate inside our walls. If we haven't done that, depending on where you are in your development, either in people, number of people, in revenues, and the development of your senior leadership team, it can be a top-down owner approach. It's most effective once the business has started to roll, to get feedback from everyone around the key stakeholders. And so I would always start with your senior leaders talking about those things, maybe talking about it with their departments or their teams and giving some feedback. But it should be a process that happens over a period of time and not a top-down, here's what it is. And it's not going to mean much if people don't identify with it. And again, the value of doing it early is now I'm identifying the people who I'm inviting into the business so that we're aligned, right? To Kevin's point about trust and people, if you don't trust your people, so I hear this from companies, I don't trust my people to work from home. My immediate answer is, why do you have them in your business? Because if you think they're flipping off at home, they're doing the same thing in the office. You're just seeing it every third time that it happens. And so, trust is critical. And again, you keep on rolling that back. Clarity creates an opportunity where we can have trust. What's your experience in that, Zach? Have you had to roll out vision values after a business is already rolling?
Yeah. So my experience, it works a lot better when there's buy-in and engagement, when everybody's involved in giving feedback. It doesn't go so well when it's top down.
Yeah.
Doesn't go well. How about that?
Yeah. Well, we can put up nice posters on the wall, but no one actually does it. And I say this all the time. You're winning as an organization. I don't know if Matt Foxhall's on the call, but maybe the best I've ever seen do this, about instilling values into a business and then getting so disciplined, because it gets to be a little uncomfortable, right? To say to Zach, hey, Zach, one of our values is professionalism. And you keep on showing up to every meeting 5 to 7 minutes late. It's just not professional, right? That takes a little bit of all right, I got to have that conversation. But if you don't have that conversation, then Zach is going to believe, along with everyone else, that it's okay to show up 5 to 7 minutes late. And so you have to set that tone as first time, every time. When there is a transgression on your values, you have to raise your hand and say, Zach, here are our values. Let me remind you of them. Please make sure you show up on time. And when other people inside the organization it's not calling people out, because this is an important distinction. I'm not calling people out. I'm calling people up to the commitment that we made as an organization to live our vision and our values. And when we get people into the mindset of it's not friction, it's because we're going and doing this amazing thing and we're all in it together. And this is how we agreed we would treat each other. When you're not doing that, it's not about you. It's that you're negatively impacting the mission that we're on. And everyone should get comfortable with that. We're at the hour mark. I'm going to get to, here's your leadership challenge. So if you guys are on screen, and if you're listening to this later on the podcast, I would tell you probably this is a good one to probably go to YouTube for, because there's lots of graphics that I probably didn't explain as clearly as I needed to for people just listening. But that is my beautiful son on the right-hand side of your screen. That's my son Briggs, who likes to flex, just like his dad. But here's your leadership challenge. I want all of you to take this. I want you to map your ideal customer journey from their problem awareness to the final delivery. Every single little piece. How did your marketing interact? How did your salesperson respond? Were they kind and enthusiastic? Were they gruff and rude? Right? What's the intersection of every point of contact through that whole thing? And how do we engineer it so that we don't leave success to chance? And then I want you to think, does every touch point match with our vision and our values? And then again, how do we make it compelling? How do we make it iconic? How do we make it Tesla-like, Disney-like, companies that people like literally fight over, right? You don't have to defend your company anymore because you have such a community around your business. They do it for you. That's when you're winning. And so that's my leadership challenge for you. I want you to map your ideal customer journey from problem awareness to final delivery and think about, how do I make that? What do I want my customer to say at the end of their interaction with my company? And how do I make that true by engineering that customer experience? And just think about all of your people in that process. Are my people delivering on each of these things? And if they're not, then let's have some conversations with them. Okay? Just housekeeping notes. Two things, ways in which you can get more information and interact. So every Thursday from 2 to 3 o'clock Eastern time, I hold office hours. It's open to any senior leaders. Leslie was there today and joined us. And so it's an opportunity for senior leaders to come together, to have some community, and to solve the hardest problems. So whatever it is that's going on inside your business, we have opportunities to have other really smart people from other perspectives with lots of experience to help you get to the other side of those challenges. And then the other one is impossible. And so it's for leaders, busy executives who are living in a world of possible. And it's a newsletter that I send out. I send it out every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. It's best consumed with a cup of coffee, because my experience is busy executives, they have some time on Saturday morning. We're not rushing off to the office. We're probably waiting for our kids to get to their sporting event. And so it's just the idea of, how do we level up our own personal life? How do we level up our leadership? And how do we accelerate our companies? And that's really what we're after. Thank you so much for joining me. It was great to see everyone. Hour plus mark. So you guys all hung in there. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can certainly find me at provenchaos.com, or you can follow me on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. Really appreciate all of you guys. Have a great day.